Welcome. This is Tampa Home Talk, and man, we have missed you guys already for hour number 1 for a while. What do you think? It's so weird only doing 1 hour, isn't it?
Well, this is my first week of only doing 1 hour.
So.
So.
Welcome back, by the way.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome
Yes,
home.
welcome home.
Welcome home. Thank you,
Wasn't
Adam Telly.
it so short last week, Adam? Like, it felt like we were in and out.
Yeah, it was different for sure.
Is this a permanent thing?
Yeah.
For the moment, yeah. They brought it. The station did reprogramming changes, so there's a sports show for 3 hours in the morning. So Schreiner offered to give up his hour, but I think we'd rather add the other day, 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Consistent 5 days a week. So.
Why can't we talk sports?
I can talk sports.
Yeah, come on, really.
Are you going to
Talk
actually,
sports?
and so you're going to do 5 days a week?
We at some point, yeah. Not
That's
right
awesome.
this moment, but in the future, yes.
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, we have our own studio.
It's a full-time job, which would require another full-time person
Turn now with Katrina.
to just do that. So,
That's
all right.
We have a Mimu.
Yes, she has another job besides that. All right, let's get into market stats this week. So the number of new listings, by the way, Danielle, what do you think about this when we do these market stats every week? Just curious, like from an appraiser's point of view, what do you think?
They're really hard to understand when you look at the orders on my desk. It's because that's a snapshot. What's on my desk is a snapshot of the future, and that's a snapshot kind of the past.
No, this is ours is
Or
a snapshot of the
opposite.
future. Yeah,
Yeah,
yours is a
I said it
snapshot of the
backwards.
past.
Yeah, and so for me, like when I'm looking at my desk and then I look at that, it's just mind blowing.
Has it changed your perspective? Because I know for a while there, probably like 6 months ago, you're like, it's going to crash and burn. Hasn't this changed your perspective
I have plenty of short sales and REOs on my desk. My opinion still stands. When the money is done being printed, there will be a stabilization in the market.
Well, that's going to be an economic correction, which will affect much more than real estate.
That is,
right?
it's going to happen, and we're seeing it. And then
Well, we've been saying it's going to happen for 2 years now.
Well,
we
it's
do a
overdue.
lot of, but here's where I'm at is when I go into the refinance world and I'm being thrown out of the house because I can't meet their expectations. This is what we saw in 2008.
It is not. We have this argument every time.
But I'm talking about
From your perspective,
I'm
maybe.
talking about the homeowners overextending themselves. I'm talking about there will be.
I do think there's some of that.
There is going to be inventory on the market.
No, I
come
do think there's some of
January.
that. But right now, the jobs market is still incredibly strong. I mean, literally, you see fast food workers. They can't even get people in restaurants and in fast foods. They're bumping some of these to like $15 an hour.
Don't take this personally,
To do
but the
basic
people
stuff.
that I see in my worlds that are really struggling financially are real estate professionals.
Okay, well, I'm glad we're not in that bucket. But we've been around for a few minutes, and we've sell a couple homes.
But you're also
A
not
year?
overextended.
Well,
Definitely not overextended.
I feel like there's a lot of baby realtors out there,
There
too,
is.
and it's
It's-
hard to get it's hard to get the ball rolling, right?
So I have a lot of friends in other markets, including ones like San Diego, and so their average price point over there, like average entry level, $700,000. So the running joke in that market for years has been more people have a real estate license than a driver's license.
Absolutely.
So it's a similar market that we're in right now, and it won't stay that way forever. Once people have to repay their fees, which is about now, we start to see this massive drop off.
I really do
which is pretty
believe
normal.
that as soon as the holidays are over, there's going to be an influx of inventory put onto the market. I
We'll
don't
see.
think
I'm
people are
excited
gonna-
to see.
I don't think people are going to foreclose. I think people are going to reposition their money and downsize because financially they can't afford the CDDs, the utilities,
Yeah.
and the maintenance.
Well, that's another whole interesting
And I see it in the new
conversation for another
construction
day.
world.
Yeah. So let's talk about the current market snapshot. So if it's your first time joining us, just so you know, every week we pull the current market stats. We look at 3 counties in and around the Tampa Bay area, and we pull single family homes just for comparison data. So there's no mobile homes, there's no condos, there's no townhomes or anything like that in our data, right? So just for general comparison, we look at this week over week single family homes. So the number of new active listings right now, as of this morning, 3 counties, Hillsborough County, Pasco County, and Pinellas, is 672 new listings. So that's the number right now in the Tampa Bay area. If you're looking for a single family home in any price point, by the way, that could be a $10 million home. Basically there's 672 to pick from. We could probably do a whole hour drilling down on what's available in different price points, but we'll table that for another day. The number of sold listings in the last 7 days, 907. That's only in 7 days. 908 sold properties in the 7-day period. And the number of pending home sales is 1,175.
Can you touch on this number right here? Because that
The
seems
price
like
decreases?
it's different than it was over the summer.
Yeah. So, and you know, we track this, right, Adam? So, I mean, we've got this running list here. And if you look, it's pretty consistent. I mean,
Okay.
in early March, they were probably in the 200s, but now we're seeing the price decreases at 489. And I'll tell you what that is. And this is how I think, Danielle, this market differs from 2008 is because the buyers in this market right now are savvy. They're doing their homework. They're not paying any price. And that's because they're real qualified buyers that can afford the home, you know, based on normal underwriting standards. And we didn't have that in 2008. You know, you had people that were really renters posing as homeowners that actually never qualified. So to them, it doesn't matter. It's just a pie in the sky number. And so that's the difference is buyers are savvy. So if the house is overpriced, it's going to sit.
And
or
the
have a price
buying
reduction.
frenzy has gone down. The hysteria has gone
dropped a little,
down,
yeah.
and the mad dash for a property. I do feel like people are like, okay, I'm going to do a 7-month rental and really wait to put a contract on because they're seeing the bidding wars, 15 to 17 contracts on every property, and they would rather just wait for the middle of the holiday season. And I do feel like there are some smart buyers out there that are going to swoop in.
I mean, here's the thing that we're still dealing with. You know, you follow the IRS trends on how many walks, which we've talked about before, and you go to places like New York and some of these north and northeastern counties or states, which have been a normal migration pattern to Florida, and they are requiring vaccine cards to even go to the grocery store. And there are some people that don't want to get it for different reasons, and it's their choice, right? I mean, we have somebody right now that just got on our team that got the COVID shot and is out. Like they have to be out for a while because they have full-blown COVID symptoms. So you know, it's a hot topic we're not really going to cover. But the point is, I think there's a pretty good percentage of the population that want to have that choice, and they're going to migrate to states like here where DeSantis is saying, "Hey, we're going to give you that choice. It's not right." I mean, can you imagine? And I saw a whole write-up on this. Can you imagine with our shortness of workers right now, and you looking at how they're trying to mandate, the federal government's trying to mandate people getting this vaccine? What happens if you have different police officers, firefighters, nurses, and like all these key people that you need and you count on during the pandemic, and they say, sorry, I'm willing to give up everything because my belief is so strong to not get this vaccine, right, or COVID shot? They should have that right. So, I mean, if you take that away, you're going to create a bigger issue than what we have right now. Don't you think,
and
Leo?
then on top of it, they forced the mandate on the military, and I know a lot of men that were heading off to boot camp, and they pulled out.
Yeah.
What's the mandate on the military?
They have to have the vaccine.
Yeah.
They're a government. They're a
And
government
that
employee.
part's worse because it's not like a job, right? They can just leave or get a new one or find a new opportunity. I mean, when you
Their
sign
hands
up,
are
they
tied.
own you.
So the ones that are in boot camp, I know a recruiter, and he said that his life is becoming very, very hard because everybody he's recruiting is backing out, and it's going to stop people from wanting to join the
I think
military.
it's unfair, but you know, that's a topic for another day. But so back to the housing information, that's why I think our numbers are continuing to be so strong. The number of new listings are down because we see this all the time. And I have a handful of sellers right now that have signed with me. They've already signed a listing agreement. Some of them are knocking on a year and they can't find a suitable property that they would choose,
You
right?
still got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah, even though they're getting, you know, a really great number for their house and that number keeps going up month after month, still it's not enough for them to say, you know, I'll go live in an RV, right? Or make some temporary arrangements.
It's a question for you. Do any of the numbers show how the average time on the market the home sits? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so these are not in this particular numbers, but yes, we do have that data.
What's
and
our absorption rate?
so absorption rate is we're still close to 2 weeks, and Danielle will tell you.
Yeah,
it's
it's just
overall
dividing these two numbers. So,
overall around 2 weeks. However, it's very subjective compared looking at the area and the neighborhood, right, Danielle?
and the value
So,
over
well,
500,000
the
is going to
value,
be
yeah.
longer.
the value definitely makes an impact, but some areas are hotter than others. I mean, if you were to list anything near Armature Works, I can guarantee you that absorption rate is 2 days. I mean, really. So I'm just saying, like, areas are different and they're subjective. So if you want to get information on your particular home, you want to know the value, you'd like a comparative market analysis so you can see what other homes like yours are sell for, and you'd like to know what you can do to get top dollar, just call or text us value to our off-air number, which is 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
I'm Katrina Madewell with
Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, welcoming you back to Tampa Home Talk.
Yes, we are back. And on our next break, we're going to roll on over to Jenny Restrepo. And what?
On the break?
Well, now in the next segment. Sorry,
Okay.
after the break. We're after.
Yes.
I need more. I only had a couple cups of coffee. I should
This
have had
is
a few
crazy.
more.
We lose an hour. We lose our sanity. We lose our flow.
I know. So I gave it to you fast, but our off-air number in case you want more information on your home's value, or you'd like to connect with us or find out what you can do to get top dollar, or even if you want an instant cash offer, we have access to a bunch of investors, and we're happy to get you an instant cash offer for your home if you don't want to go through all of the regular red tape. So 813-377-2775, 813-377-2775. And again, that's our off-air number, which you can call or text, and it's 813-377-2775. So let's go on over to Insured Title Agency right now. And so Jenny is joining us here this morning, and, you know, I would love to just spend a moment talking about Kevin.
Definitely.
Because we lost him about a month ago now.
Yes.
And Insured Title has been, you know, one of our sponsors here on Tampa Home Talk for a while now. And Kevin, it was just a walking encyclopedia of title knowledge. I mean, literally everything that involved title fraud or in between, he knew it inside and out.
He was definitely a big personality, so full of life, knew everything about this industry, was always looking to disrupt it, find out something new, fix a problem. He was an amazing problem solver.
Yeah.
So the Insured Title Agency is a family-owned business. It was Kevin and his sister who own the company. And so it's devastating for our business and for the family as well, because the core team at ITA has been together forever. And so we're still kind of processing what that means, but appreciate the opportunity to come on and kind of commemorate him and everything that he did for the Tampa Bay area. I mean, if Kevin was someone that you knew, he would give you the shirt off of his back or maybe some pork from his latest hog hunt.
So I want to share one of the last stories and memories I had with him.
Okay.
Because he was so fun. I could just play with him like this, right? He came in and he brought like all this information from one of your sister companies, and it was really profound, like the stuff he was sharing. Genuine soul, you know, I think it was late because we couldn't get together during the day, so we ended up literally like bringing dinner in for our team. And he was always dressed so nice. Mm-hmm. But that particular day, like, he didn't match at all, like you dudes do, right? If your women don't dress you.
But he was colorblind.
So maybe, yeah.
Yes, but
he had
for
a couple,
real, he was colorblind.
He had a couple different patterns going on. So he comes in and I go, Kevin, who dressed you, man? Who dressed you? And he was like, he looked at me like he was so taken back. Like, I spent time to get dressed. He put this outfit on. He had that look on his face. And I said, I'm just jacking with you, man. You look great, but like literally you don't match. You need to be dressed. Don't you have a woman in your life?
But for real, he was colorblind. There was one time where he wanted to pick out like a new suit jacket, and he had Mandy, his sister, and I in the office. And he was like, okay, which one do you like out of this? He's like, but it's blue, right? And so we were confirming like, yeah, this one's blue and these two colors go together. But yes, he was very snazzy dresser, had his jackets handmade for him, had his little logo on the inside.
I just feel like, you know, with the whole dude thing not being able to pay, unless you dress like Leo all the time and you're like in a Beryl shirt and pants, you always match. But like Adam last week, I almost said something to him, but I didn't. I thought it might hurt his feelings.
Are you kidding me?
did
I
not.
looked so good last week.
Oh my.
Dude, you had
gotta
different
be-
patterns going on.
You gotta be kidding me.
You were
I
listening
looked,
to Tampa Fashion Talk.
I looked fantastic. First of all, I was going to a golf tournament, so I was definitely the best dressed
Okay,
there.
so there was somebody laughing at you. I'm just telling you, I should have been the one to tell you before you left, but I didn't. I'm sorry.
No, I looked great. I promise.
So you look good today. You match. What you have on is fine. I probably wouldn't have worn that belt with that shirt, but
You know.
It's the critical hour here.
Wow.
No, I love you. I'm just teasing with you. But
You know, we
so,
could go in on you if we want to.
you
too,
could,
now,
yes, you
know.
can go in on me. I'll take it.
And up next, we found this celebrity drunk outside of this place, and we got pictures.
Okay, stop it.
Here.
But really, seriously, like I think Kevin, because he always did dress so nice, he literally should have had somebody come in, like organize all of his clothes and say, wear this with this. Here's all your stacked outfits. Like tie, shirt, everything's all matched. Don't you think?
I think he had a bit of a system to that, but I'm not 100% sure. But yes, he
All right.
his wardrobe matched his personality.
Yes, that is a fantastic way to describe it. So we just want to take a moment to just honor his memory. We appreciate you guys as partners. He was just his memory will always live us. And the next time we have you guys on, I think we're going to actually roll some clips from when we
Okay.
had him on the air because he was just so sharp. And I think we could live a lot by that, and probably even run some of those in your commercials. I think would be awesome. So
Definitely. I mean, if you had a title question, he was the guy, because if he hadn't been through the exact situation, he knew a guy, or he knew what to do, or he could see sort of around what was in black and white and like look in the gray areas and find the right answer.
he was definitely well connected, which I appreciated that about him. So do you have some news to share with us, or like did I break the bubble already? Was that it?
Well, I mean, the biggest news is that Insured Title Agency will go on, and will go on to continue to honor the type of title professional that he was. So it's still a family-owned company. Mandy has taken the reins for now. Everyone is still there, so same team. So if you've worked with Insured Title Agency, you can expect the same level of service. And honestly, their slogan is "We appreciate you," because they really do treat every client and customer like family. We know that when you're coming to the title agency, you've worked with a great agent, and you're either selling your home, which maybe your kids grew up in, and so you have emotions about, or you're buying a brand new home to start your family, or you're downsizing because your kids have moved out. Like,
And
it's
let's
an
face
emotion.
it, that transaction could have went up or down. There's definitely a lot of emotions in there.
Totally.
So
And
that's
so-
the final little piece of whatever just happened, good or bad.
Right. So we, at Insured Title Agency, they honor that this is a big decision. It's a big situation for everybody involved. And so they do treat every customer, buyer, seller, agent, insurance agent like family.
So you know Kevin so well. Like, you work with him very closely. Can you share why he was so passionate about title? Like, he just had this burning title desire in his belly. Like, where did that come from?
I think you're born with it.
I think
I
so.
don't think that you can learn to be like that. He was just a passionate person about everyone, and our professional relationship was, he is so full of ideas, and he needed somebody to like take the idea
And run
and like
with it.
bring
Yeah.
it down to earth a little bit. And so that's what I did. And when he started Property Prequel, it started off as like a fillable PDF, and he's like, so I have this great idea, and it's going to be this. It's like the Carfax but for a house. So I have this piece of paper. He's like, make this a website.
Which his idea for Property Prequel, I don't think was a bad one.
No.
And we tested it out on a few, but what I found is, you know, in this market, because buyers are so programmed the way they are, they still want to do their own due diligence, right? And as real estate agents, we have to encourage them still to do their own due diligence because of the, you know, caveat emptor, buyer beware. It's an as-is contract. But I have to tell you, like in the Property Prequel ones that we tested out, they were pretty good. So let's just talk about that for a minute. Like, what does Property Prequel mean? And then we'll talk about how is that different from a regular real estate sale.
Well, okay, so a Property Prequel is like a look under the roof. So you say a Carfax report is like a look under the hood of a car. It gives you sort of the ins and outs of, yeah, the car looks pretty and, you know, I can fit everything in the trunk, but like what's under the hood? So there's Property Prequel, which includes a full home inspection done by rock solid home inspectors, where they do everything top to bottom, same as any inspection as they would do. But Insured Title Agency also offers the new listing service. So essentially the new listing service is everything except the inspection. So in this market, it's hard to stay on top of, like you said, the buyers want their own, they want to be sure, like 100% sure. Also, like, they're making these deals, like you said, things are staying on the market 2 days, 3 days. But the new listing service is like, you have the listing agreement signed, you call Insured Title Agency, and you're like, or we have a distribution, new listing at insured-title.com. Send in all the information of the address. Insured Title Agency will pull the title. They'll check for liens. They'll check for open permits. All of those things that oftentimes are fine.
They come later.
So your traditional process is an amazing agent like Katrina gets the listing. She lists the property. You get a buyer. Buyer goes under contract. Now we send the deal to title. And then that's when the title agency begins to unpack all of the details of the property.
Well, they start doing the research and the background check and all that stuff on the title.
Correct. So
I've always thought that was backwards. Because I've been doing this for so long, I always wanted title to pull it in advance when we got the listing.
Yes.
That way, if there was any title defects or anything, we would have the opportunity to work on that. Because in a normal market, if there's a title defect and you have the buyer, they may not want to wait. It's a 30-day cure period on the contract.
Totally. ITA will fix it. So, and they will do that research ahead of time at your listing. So any listing, even if the seller just wants to know, like, we will do the title work before you have a buyer under contract, because like you said, there's a time limit to this. So if you have to fix something, you need the time to fix it.
So when we come back, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. I'll just kind of unpack what a traditional process looks like, and we're going to dive in a little bit more to what you get with property prequal, because there's some more things that you haven't even mentioned. So I'm going to grab my laptop to find those. And when we come back right after the break, we're going to talk about that. And that's, I think, especially when the market stabilizes, that's going to be an amazing way to sell a property.
Definitely.
Our off-air number is 813-377-2775. This is Tampa Home Talk. You can call or text us at 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome home. This is Adam Talley with Talley Insurance. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. And before we dive back into title insurance, we're going to do our property insurance tip of the week. And we were talking about it actually off air. And, as we're going into title, and you guys are talking about inspections and everything else like that, sometimes you do get in a situation where the seller either A, doesn't want to, or B, financially can't afford to make those little fixes that they need to make the house, insurable through a normal market. But we still have options for you. So it's called the, if you ever heard of Lloyd's of London, there's the excess and surplus lines market, and they are broader in their acceptance of homes, and they typically don't have any upfront inspection requirements. Now, they're still going to do their own inspection, so you might still have to end up fixing that stuff. You still have to fix it, but we can at least get you in that home and get you closed.
And to piggyback off of that, for our sellers, we typically see those things in advance. We had Bill on, remember, a couple weeks ago. And when I do my pre-listing walkthrough with the seller, I'm going to notice most of those things that are going to get tagged on the 4-point, even though I'm not a home inspector. And then I'm going to say, hey, you should probably have Beryl Engineering and Inspection come in and do an inspection pre-listing so they can kind of tell you what I'm telling you, and we can clean those things up before we hit the market. The beauty of that is we don't run into those insurance issues later. It's always a cleaner transaction.
Well, once you're already in contract, you got 30 days, right? So now you're, especially in a time like now where all the contractors are busy and everybody's busy, it might be hard to squeeze that into that box there if you find out later.
This leads into exactly what we were talking about in the last segment, which is typical process is, buyer connects with an agent, they get pre-approved, start looking for homes, they know how much you're qualified for, find one they like, write the offer, seller accepts, now they've got a contract. So at that point, that's when all this other stuff starts, right? They actually run it through automated with the address they're buying to make sure there's no crazy flood insurance quotes that would now disqualify them from buying that home, even though the lender approved them already for that amount. They do the title insurance. There's a Estoppel, which is checking all the HOA backlog and stuff to make sure all that's paid. They're doing a municipal lien search and all of this sort of stuff. And somewhere in the middle, like towards the beginning, the agent's doing some of this homework as well. So like on the dashboard, when we go to look at it for property prequal, there's a home inspection, preliminary title report, which you guys can jump on that, fix anything that's wrong. HOA documents, crazy, amazing, awesome that we actually get that early. Can't tell you how hard that is to chase down sometimes. The owner's policy, which is basically you've already done the title insurance policy for them. It's ready to go.
That's the existing owner's policy.
Oh, the
so the
prior
one that the
okay.
seller received at the time that the seller purchased the home.
Which makes your process a little easier. Municipal lien search, which says if there's any open water bills or like other things that could place a lien on title. There's also an insurance analysis.
What does that do?
So that's interesting. I know Adam's going to want to know about that.
Basically, like Adam is saying, so as a buyer, it's advantageous to get that quote of what is your insurance looking like straight out of the gate, because you don't want to get all the way down to a couple of days before closing and find out, like you mentioned, Katrina, oh, there's flood insurance. Now my insurance amount every month is going up by $400. That $400 to that buyer could put them out of their pre-approved range of debt to income ratio.
So they're pulling an estimate, and you can get additional quotes through anybody you like, but it's just, hey, here's some homework done for you, which might flag you, oh, gosh, there's flood on this. Didn't know that, right? We talk
Correct.
about sometimes it's the back corner of the property, you know, or things like that. There's also a mortgage analysis, and I know Kevin was working really hard behind the scenes to get this one nailed down. This was one of the hardest ones to do because of the appraisal component. Lenders just didn't want to do it, but I told him, you got to get the lenders on board to make this go like 100% how you want to do it, and you get your preferred lenders to plug in there that will accept that appraisal. So now you have everything done but the buyer's approval. That's all that's left. And then last but not least is a property profile, which is kind of cool. We've actually provided this to the sellers, which they find it pretty fascinating, and the buyers. And it shows basic information like the owner of record, you know, the location information, which is the legal description, last market sales, prior home sales. It also gives you all the property characteristics, which tells you, you know, is the exterior wall stucco and masonry? What kind of construction is it? What type of roof is it? How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Granted, this pulls from public record, so it's not always accurate, but it's there. It talks about the size of the lot, so square footage, acreage, dimensions on it, all of the tax data. And then you guys also do a sales analysis on it, which is interesting, pulling comps. Probably not all the same data that we would pull, but likely some of it. So it's a pretty cool little snapshot, you know, into what's in there. And there's all kinds of information, including school information, local businesses, neighbors. I mean, it gives you all your neighbors that are in here.
What's nice about that report is that sometimes as an agent, you know, you have to be careful about the kind of information that you're providing.
Demographics and crime, like in the report.
So I'm not saying this, but I can provide this report that was created by a third party. If you would like to have this information about the neighborhood, about the schools, so you're not reporting on what the school rating is or what the demographics of the neighborhood are, but you're providing the information.
I love it because as agents, we always want to be the source to the source and not the source.
Correct. Exactly.
So that's exactly what you're saying.
Yes. So it's and clearly, like if Katrina's going to do a comparative market analysis, you're putting your eyes on it. You're really specifically choosing things that are the best fit. This is just giving you like that higher view that kind of pulls things in. So each piece of the property prequel was actually designed in correspondence to the sales contract. So when buyer and seller sign and you go under contract, there's all the pieces of the contract that say buyer will do this, seller will do this. And so each piece of that where it's the seller's responsibility to close out any open permits. In the contract, it says the seller should provide to the buyer a copy of their current owner's policy or state that they don't have it. So you can say, oh, I don't have it, but one of those two things is supposed to happen. Now,
contractually, you're obligated to provide that information.
Correct.
So like you buy the house, right? You go to title, you sign the 8,000 pages they make you sign. Where would that policy be if you're the set? Like, so you buy that house, and then 10 years later you want to sell it. Where would I go to find it?
Well, it's a commitment that turns into a policy, but she'll explain.
So here's my title tip for that, which is when you're at closing, you sign 8,000 pieces of paper. Like, I am not a paper person. I cannot do pieces of paper. So typically what happens is the actual policy is not issued to you until you've already signed and closed and funded and you have the keys.
Yeah, they give you a commitment that says that they will.
You have your
but
closing
you don't actually get it until all the money's funded.
Right.
You sign the closing disclosure, you sign the preliminary title report. but you don't get your actual policy until after closing. So what Insured Title Agency does is when you leave the closing table, you have a folder, you have all the papers that you signed that day. Then when your official policy is issued, they print out a copy and they mail that to you separately. So now it will come at a different time, so it'll stand out a little bit. And then my best recommendation is scan that in, put it in the cloud.
It's more important than your deed, really.
It's very important. It's one of those things where you're like, you don't know that you need it until you need it. And then when you need it, you're like,
I can't find
darn,
it.
where is it?
Is that something that the title? Is that something you guys typically save?
Yes. So whatever title company that you've closed with will have a record of that. So for example, 5 years after your purchase, you're reselling your home, you cannot find it anywhere. You can contact the title company that did your closing. They should be able to provide you an electronic copy of it if you don't have it.
And there's some that they say they sent it, but I know that they don't. So
Well, IT is very diligent about this. They have a process. But certainly, if you recently closed on a home and you're like, I don't have that, where is that? Contact the title company. Yes. If you're not sure about who to call the title company, contact your agent. Your agent can help you. Or another title tip is once your deed is recorded in the public record, so whatever county you closed in, it could be Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas. When you pull your deed, look right at the top corner, and you'll see the name of the agent, the title company's name, and their telephone number.
And it's an owner's policy?
Yep, title
It's your owner's policy. It's the only, like, your insurance that you provide to property insurance protects from future events.
Right.
Title insurance is the only type of insurance that protects you from the past.
And will make you whole in the event there's a title claim or a defect in the title in the future.
Yes.
So one other like kind of PSA is don't pay $85 for your deed that looks like it's super efficient
That's a
from
scam.
Tallahassee. That it's whatever. I mean, I've seen people actually pay for these. They send back a nice, neat little report, but this is all public record information
Yes.
that's free, and you don't need to pay $85 to get it.
No.
Your title company will send you a copy of the
Yes.
deed and your title insurance policy. They typically wait for that. They used to wait for it to come back. Now a lot of you guys do it electronically, but you'll package all that up together where you have the OR book and page, send it off to the homeowner.
If you don't have a big scanner at your home, because obviously a lot of people do not, ask the title company they have to scan it in anyway. Ask them to send it to you electronically or give it to you in like a file share so that it's safe and secure, but keep that electronically somewhere because those are important documents and they're the thing that you're like, oh, I'll put this in a file. But when you need it, you need it.
How often do you get people, or when's the last time you had somebody come to closing? They're like, nope, I want a marked up commitment.
I mean, some people want like pieces of paper with blue ink on it and everything, but with the title, with your preliminary title report, so once that is provided to the buyer and the buyer's agent, you have 5 days to review it. This is also in the contract. On day 6, it's asked and answered. You've had your review period. If you didn't bring up an issue after that point, after day number 5, then it's considered done, and it's not
What are
up for
some
debate.
issues on there that
I have another
lenders
question, too.
that lenders may be okay with, but maybe the buyer shouldn't be? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, so I had a newer agent, and she was purchasing a property for herself, a condo. And she's like, can you just teach me how to read a title commitment? Like, here's the one for me. I'm buying this. I'm the buyer. But, like, I just want to be able to really get in here and read this and see. And I said, sure, no problem.
That might be a good future topic for a show, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Like,
Did she get her license just to be able to buy her own condo?
But
no.
Go ahead. Carry on with the story.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so we're sitting there like having coffee, and she simply was like, teach me how to read this, because she wanted to know, obviously starting with herself and then for her future clients. So I'm looking at it and I go, well, who's this Joe Smith? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, this Joe Smith owes a $75,000 mortgage on this property, and if you leave this right here, it'd be an exception. So at some point, this mortgage company could come back to you for $75,000.
Was she paying cash? Like that wasn't satisfied before? How did the lender require that? They want to be in first lien position.
It was something that hadn't, a satisfaction of mortgage when Joe Smith owned it had not been filed. So, in fact, that's a title issue that we cleared
Yeah.
for her because it had been paid off, but there was no correct satisfaction of
if
mortgage.
you don't look at anything else, make sure your name and the policy amount matches on page 1, and go to B2, which is your exceptions to title. That's what you're talking about.
And ask questions. If you don't know what it is, ask.
All right, this is
because-
Tampa Home Talk. We've got to take a break. It's been so much fun. Hang tight. We still have Danielle Evans that we have to get to. 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
Welcome home, Tampa Fashion Talk here. We're rounding out our hour, and
Silly Leo.
I've got a great tip of the week.
Wait. Before we do, can I just give a shout out to Mr. Grant for listening? He called in and gave us kudos on the show this morning, said he found it very interesting. So I just wanted to give a shout out to our listener, Mr. Grant.
Messed up his flow.
Thank
Mr.
you, Leo.
Grant. Thank you.
Back to
Mr.
you.
I think your attire matches your personality as well, by the way.
Gray and drab.
Come on now. He's an engineer. What do you want?
Anyway, tip of the week, which also has to do with the fashion on the outside of your home. Now
Oh
that
my
we're
gosh.
coming out of the rainy season, you might start to notice that you might get some cracks developing on the outside of your building near some of your windows. And that's just because now that we're out of the rainy season, everything's starting to dry out. And what's actually starting to dry out are the seals around your windows. So if you start to notice little cracks on the outside of your house going down from your window ledges, it's time to reseal your windows.
Good tip.
That is a great
That's an
tip.
amazing tip.
Hopefully Mr. Grant liked that one equally as
Yeah,
well.
I can't tell if you guys are being serious.
No, that's a
It's
great
an
tip.
amazing
That is a great
tip. I'm
tip.
gonna
Yes.
use it.
Nobody thinks about that except for Leo and engineers.
I don't think
No, but I
anybody in
think-
this room is not going to go home and
I
like
am
look at their
literally going to
windows
tell
right
all
now.
of my homeowners all
Just
week.
check around your windows. You're looking for those small little cracks coming off the stucco.
I think most people see a little crack and they're like, I have a sinkhole.
That's true.
Yeah,
And
so
if
I
you
don't
think
know
that,
about
call 813-377-2775 and we'll send someone out to look at it.
Yes, we will. All right, so we got to hop on over to Danielle Evans, Gateway Appraisals, also one of our show sponsors for a very, very long time. We appreciate you. We love you. Wealth of knowledge, always good content. We're going to talk about condos this morning and appraisers assessing the safety of the buildings. You had a great question, Adam, during the break.
Yeah. Are you qualified for this? Yes?
Absolutely not. And we are not inspectors. That is
Right.
unlicensed contracting. And we could be fined by the state of Florida.
But you sort of were asked by Fannie Mae to do it, weren't you?
We sure were. So we're going to have to write a paragraph to cover our backside because at the end of the day, we observe and report, we verify and disclose. We are not in the inspection industry. We
So
are
you're
not
like-
inspectors of any kind, and we do not inspect
You
houses.
do visual inspections, like
we-
visual look-sees.
We observe.
Good, better word.
Well,
We do
you're-
not inspect.
You're like us with the insurance companies trying to force us to give estimated life of roof and estimated life of appliances. We're not supposed to do that.
We
either.
are only supposed to call out what has less than 2 years of life expectancy. I've never been given a home inspector's course that within my appraisal career, I had to take those education on the side. And so part of the problem is the appraisal board and the appraisal institute is not standing up to Fannie Mae and the regulators to say appraisers are not responsible for this. Your building inspectors are. Now, I agree if an appraiser walked through the garages of Surfside condo and there was leaking water and they didn't report it, that building had problems for a very, very long time. And every single appraiser that walked that property and did not disclose that the property had cracks, leaking, foundation issues, they are in big, big trouble. They will be investigated, and
Well, it'll be-
Fannie Mae has their hands
It'll
full.
be interesting to see some of the recent appraisals, right? Right before them. I'm sure they're going to be looking
any
at those very
recent
closely.
appraisal within the last 3 to 6 months before it happened, I really feel for those appraisers because at the end of the day, we have a statement we put in our report that says, I am not a building inspector, I'm not a home inspector, I'm not a structural engineer. If you don't have that disclosure in your appraisal and you appraised in the Surfside condominium, your E&O insurance is going to have to fight for your license to stay active because
So-
somebody needs to pay Millions.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for money wherever they can get it.
Wherever they can get it. And the appraisers are all carrying $1 million worth of insurance.
So here's the thing. I mean, most FHA or most condos are not FHA insurable, right? Just because the housing
doesn't mean Fannie Mae's
collapsed
not
and never did. I know. So that's what I'm saying. So most of the condo purchases that are not cash are going through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. So now Fannie Mae is saying that they want to basically, after January 1, have a much stronger look at the overall condo building. So they're expecting some changes in January 2022.
They should be requiring a home inspection. They should be requiring every buyer to have a home inspection.
Do you know what the changes are, Danielle, that they're looking at?
No, the changes are appraisers do a better job at looking for somebody else's profession. It's unlicensed contracting, and I will not be caught doing it.
But home inspectors, when they're doing condos, specifically have all these exclusions. They're only looking at the unit themselves. They do
then
not
they
look
need
at
to
anything.
Require an engineer.
They don't look at anything
they
don't look at anything that the HOA is supposed to maintain.
Absolutely.
They should require the HOAs
to disclose
to do a structural and visual inspection once a year.
Once a year.
It should be part of their insurance and the master policy.
It's every 30 years now, isn't it?
That's not good enough.
Well, every 3 years they're supposed to have a reserve study update for a condominium. In that reserve study update, those components are looked at.
So that's the one that's liable right
at
there.
the end of the day,
how long was that going on, do you think, Leo? Because you looked at that project, right?
They had 5-10 years of issues. It was a design flaw that they actually knew about going way back with the whole pool deck.
I'm shocked that they even had insurance because, I mean, you own commercial buildings. Like the insurance companies come out once every 3 years to inspect sometimes.
They do?
You get charged for an inspection fee once every 3 years.
I've never seen them.
Yeah.
They occasionally ask if you to send a picture of their...
they came because you had to get your fire extinguishers, remember?
Yeah, fire extinguisher good.
In the big grand schemes of things, appraisers are supposed to call out safety, soundness, and structural integrity. Any of us that are walking by a cracking building, we are not doing our job by not calling it out. We are there to observe, photograph, disclose, and then require a professional to inspect it. There are a lot of appraisers. You said that Surfside has had litigation or looked into this for 5 to 6 years. There are appraisers for 5 to 6 years that walked by safety, soundness, and structural integrity problems, and they never actually disclose them. They will be fighting for their license.
But I guess in their defense, if I parked on the street or I parked somewhere else and you took an elevator and I never passed this component of the building,
you are supposed to walk the entire building. You're supposed to photograph all 4 sides. You're supposed to walk the entire bottom of it.
Even for a condo?
Not the roof. You're not supposed to walk the entire premises, but if you're supposed to photograph the garages underneath, they were supposed to go and find the space, and they're supposed to photograph the space.
Oh, that's right, because the space is part of the property.
The space is part of the property.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, in my notes, it says that they're going to put a stricter emphasis on appraisals, and notably, they must document special assessments, any deferred maintenance that could impact the safety.
And how are we supposed to get
soundness,
this information?
And
Special
structural
assessments?
integrity, or spit it out,
Habitabilization.
habitability of the condo.
Habitabilization. Say it.
Habitabilization?
Habitabilization.
Okay, yeah. We will not be redoing that again on the air. Okay, so our off-air number is 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. Jenny, when we have you back next time, we're going to talk about the whole deed transfer thing because we didn't even get to that.
I have selling swampland too.
There you go. This is Tampa Home Talk. Again, 813-377-2775. Thanks for having us. We'll be back next week. Welcome home.